today. Today I wanted to talk to you about the book I just read, Ready Player One. So I was doing a little mini review for this and I was thinking about it, and I really liked the movie for this. So I wanted to kind of do a book/movie review, so kind of like compare and contrast, and I was thinking about possibly making this into a series because I really liked the book. And I liked the book so much that it almost ruined the movie for me, which kind of sucks because it was one of my favorite movies until I read the book. So I just have a list right here that I'm going to be reading off of to tell me all the things that I wrote down that were different in the movie than the book. So let's get into it. Parzival had considerably more technology in the movie. So in the beginning of the movie, you see Parzival with his treadmill type thing. And in the book, he clearly doesn't have anything like that. He seems to have to work through voice commands because he doesn't have enough technology to do that. He also has in the book a car that must have cost many credits. And for him to get that, he would have to have considerably more money than he did in the book. And in the situation that he's in, even in the movie, it doesn't seem like that's possible, so I'm not sure where that came from. So one of the things I did like, and there's not a whole lot of these that were kind of consistent, was Halliday. Halliday was perfect in the movie and the book. I really liked how they were pretty similar in both of them, so that was a good consistent in both of the movies and the books. I'm sorry, that's my dog again. She's just trying to get out. Okay. Ike, or H, is a totally different avatar in the movie than the book, and he owns a garage instead of the basement. Although there is a basement type setting inside of the garage / workshop in the movie. So one of the big things is that H is totally different avatar in the book and the movie. In the book, he is just a normal guy. They describe him as kind of like black hair, white guy. And this comes later on, and they talk about it, and it's really cool because it's a good racial point in the book where they talk about how the reason she did that is because she knew that white men get more opportunities than a black woman, which is what she turns out to be in the movie and the book. So that's why she was that avatar. So it doesn't really make that point in the movie, and it's kind of sad that it didn't because it really brought up a good point, I thought, in the book. Another big thing that I noticed was Halliday's message in the movie and the book were totally different. It was very vague in the movie, while they got a lot of it for the clues and stuff in the book. I wish that they would have done more of that because they seem to be going in the right direction in the movie in the beginning of the message, and then they kind of just cut it off and it was just like an invitation without any sort of big clues, which kind of sucks because I think it would have been a really cool way to do it. Also, in the movie, they mentioned that there was this big gunter that opened a portal that went to the racetrack in the movie, which was a totally different challenge than the book, and we'll get to that later, but it was completely different. So there was some gunter we don't know about that wasn't mentioned in the book at all that opened this portal to get to this racetrack. He discovered the first part of the puzzle, but in the book there was no other gunter that was mentioned that opened any sort of ideas for Wade or Artemis or any of them. So, and speaking of that, another big thing that happened was that in the book they were very solo. They didn't join together in any situation because they really just wanted to work solo. They didn't want to be in a clan because they felt that gunters and clans were just, they got an unfair advantage basically. So in the movie, they all worked as a clan almost the whole time. It just kind of felt rushed into this big like group because there was Sho, and I think it's Shoto in the book, and Daito, and they both were in the movie in the beginning. They were just introduced as two characters that were already his friends when they didn't even meet until later in the book. Another big thing that branched off of this is in the book, Daito died due to the Sixers, IOI, and in the movie that didn't happen. Of course, I could see why it might be, supposed to be kid friendly, but at the same time they still did the thing where the stacks dropped in the movie, so it doesn't really make sense them killing off all of those characters even though they were unimportant and not taking that with Daito and making a bigger statement. The Sixers in the movie don't look at all the same. So in the book, the Sixers are supposed to be very anonymous. You don't know who they are, but you can clearly see the characters they are in the movie. The whole anonymous thing was supposed to be, it's a little detail, but it's also important to the story. So it was another thing that kind of annoyed me about it. Let's see. Oh, the curator, which was Agmaro in the movie, was not a character in the book at all. Agmaro was represented by another wizard, such as Halliday's wizard in the book, and in the movie he was a totally different person, and nobody even knew that it was Agmaro, so that was another big thing. The challenges in the movie were actually a lot more disappointing than the book. They were just much easier for Parzival to get to. It made me wonder why it took them 5 years to get to it, like in the book. If they just were gonna figure it out like that, it just didn't make any sense. They also didn't have as many challenges. In the book there was gates and keys, and to get each one you had to solve a riddle. It wasn't the same thing in one challenge. Oh, another big thing that I noticed, so, and I don't know if I felt like I could have missed it. If you remember IROC in the book, it was spelled I-R and then 0K. Well, in the movie, there was a character named IROC, but it wasn't the same character as in the book. It was the villain that was helping Nolan basically, get all the keys. So it was that wizard, but it wasn't the same character as it was in the book. In the book, IROC character was a side character that was in the basement with H and Z, or Parzival, and he was just kind of jealous, and he had no idea how to do any of the things that other Gunters did. He just wasn't knowledgeable, but he was like a jerk. So it wasn't the same character at all in the book that it was in the movie. So that was a big one, but I was confused as to why they even kept the name in it as that guy. I guess it was just a reference maybe. To be honest, the whole movie just felt rushed, but I guess you can only get so much in a movie than you have in a book, which is kind of sad because I felt like they maybe could have added, it took them so long to, figure out this key. It just all felt like not only the challenges were rushed, but also that the relationship between Artemis and Wade was rushed. He said, "I love you" after the first date, and I'm like, how does that happen? It just didn't feel real anymore. They just seemed like some teenage couple that was going to get over each other in a few months, and that's not how it was portrayed in the books. It was portrayed over months and months and months, and they talked all the time, and it didn't feel like that in the movie at all. I also didn't like how in the movie Artemis was in the Resistance, and she also didn't seem to be as much of a Gunter nerd as she was in the book. She was a very nerdy character in the book, and it was kind of cool because her and Wade got together and they were very much similar because of their love for being a Gunter. And she even knew things that Wade didn't. But in the movie, she seemed very oblivious to a lot of Gunter facts, which really sucked because her character was just totally different. And then in the beginning, when she was in the race, she was a completely different person. She acted like it was her first time ever doing this race. So in the book, she found the first challenge the first time, and yet she didn't win it. But she also still was there, and she knew way before anybody else knew the first challenge. So it just didn't really make sense on her character at all that she was a totally different person, which kind of disappointed me because not only was she a different person, so was Wade. Wade in the movie was, yes, he was very similar in personality aspect, but the way he's portrayed, the way he looks in the book is totally different than he looks in the movie, because in the book he's portrayed as really unattractive. He's just portrayed as actually overweight, bald, actually hairless in all ways. And so it's kind of cute when him and Artemis still fall in love. It's like, you know, they don't care about the way each other looks. But in the movie, they're actually more attractive characters. So it wasn't as good on that front either. I guess it was probably to make them more likable to the audience. It probably had something to do with that, but it just was unappealing on the front of how the book portrayed it. And it was really, you know, not about looks. It was about mentality. And Artemis's avatar was completely different. She was supposed to look like what she looks like in real life, but she wasn't. She was a completely different avatar. So it was just disappointing. Another big thing, seemed like a plot hole in the movie. It wasn't a plot hole in the book. Daito and Shoto were in Japan. And although Daito passed away in the book, was murdered, Shoto was flown in. And how did all of that happen in the movie when Wade met up with them? Did they just all, they never explained it. I guess he could have flown in with Daito and Shoto. I'm sure they could have flown in, but it just wasn't explained. It just felt all rushed, and you didn't know how H even found Wade in the movie. He just showed up and you're like, how did he even know where he was? It doesn't make any sense. So the book did a way better job of explaining that and didn't have any plot holes of that sense. So I really liked it for that factor, because whenever a book for me doesn't have any plot holes or has very little plot holes and it's in an alternate universe, it's really explained very well. And that's my favorite attribute in a fantasy or a science fiction or any type of book like futuristic, because I can really imagine it happening. The movie didn't do that for me. It felt like I wasn't completely in it, sadly, because I honestly really, really liked the movie when I first watched it. But watching it the second time after reading the book, it just wasn't as good for me. One other major thing I want to mention before I am done, because I will go on forever and ever about all the minor details, because there were tons, but one of the major things is that Kira, or I think they called her Karen in the book. She was like they named her Kira as her gamer tag, but not her real name. She was Ogmaro's fiance, and then she married him and they grew old together. In the movie, they didn't grow up with her like they did in the book. So it was kind of a whole different story. And also, Holiday met her before she met Morrow. So they were actually dating before she even met Morrow, and that didn't happen whatsoever in the book. There was no dating between Halliday and Kira. It was just a friendship. He did love her, but they never went out. It was just straight to Ogmaro and Kira. They were always together, and then they got married eventually. So that was another big thing that kind of annoyed me in the movie instead of from what they did in the book. So I hope you guys liked listening, and if you like this idea for doing books versus movies and kind of me telling you the details that really messed me up, then just give me a like or comment down below. If there's a book and a movie that you'd like me to rate, then just let me know and I'll go ahead and film a video for that after I read the book. So thank you guys for watching.